right. Hey, folks, we're going to get started here in just a second. Looks like everything is straight there.
Hey, what's up, folks? How you doing? My name's Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. And today we're going to explore the new Unearthed Arcana 2026, the Mystic Subclasses. We're using this in the framework of the Color Mana and Martial Powers playtest content that we've been producing here on the stream for the past year and a half. These things are just about ready to go for publication, so I'm really excited about this. The Martial Powers system converts barbarians, fighters, monks, rogues into basically the monk key mana progression of 1 point per level, plus gives you access to the same half casting progression that Paladin, Ranger, and Artificer have, but used as an alternate magic system that we call Martial Powers, which people from 3.5 and 4th edition will recognize. Hold on real quick. Weird typo in there. Cool. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, the Martial Power system here. First off the bat, we're going to be looking at chunk. Let's click that like that. Here, the first one that we're going to be looking at is the Warrior of the Mystic Arts, which is a monk subclass that basically gives you the third casting progression that the Eldritch Knight and the Arcane Trickster have. I welcome seeing this. For those that aren't familiar with my work, first off, let me just say thanks a lot for being here. And if you think today's cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. I stream artwork for the books that I publish Monday through Fridays in the morning, and then on Mondays and Thursday nights and Saturday mornings, we do game design for different campaigns or supplements that I'll be publishing either on DMsGuild, Patreon, or Kickstarter. Here's a stack of stuff that I've already created before. I'm going to pull particular attention today to the MtG 5-color mana spell point variant rules that I've published on the DMsGuild. I started publishing these back in 2018, and I've been using them in multiple campaigns, running from level 1 to 20. I ran 3 campaigns, level 1 to 20, utilizing these mana mechanics, and I like them a lot. The reason I'm bringing them up specifically is we're creating color mana characters right now, but the tap on tap burn elemental key system, all these books have 100% free preview, so if you click on the preview, you'll be able to take a look at the full book. I'm going to take this and drop it down out of the way here like this on its own. There we go. So looking at the elemental key book, this was my original solution to the Way of the Four Elements, which was to convert this subclass, specifically the Way of the Four Elements, into a half casting progression that uses basically the same spells per level, and it uses the mana that the monk normally gets, but it also gives you a stack of cantrips and spells from level 1 to 5 that are elemental based. So, and we gave them all cool discipline names, but here's the actual list of spells, things that you could expect to be related to air, earth, fire, water for the 4 elements. Blur is air and water based. If you're using color, it's either blue or green. Calm Emotions is a water sort of vibe if you're using airbender stuff, but water is generally blue and green in Magic the Gathering. Flaming Sphere is fire, and in Magic the Gathering that's always red. Hold Person from the Way of the Four Elements was depicted as like freezing wind. Clinch of the North Wind gives it an air elemental vibe, and air is blue in Magic the Gathering. So you can either use elemental key here, air, earth, fire, and water, or you could use color mana, which is blue, red, and green. But the point here is that you could build an effective 4 elemental monk using the half casting scaffold that the Paladin, Ranger, and Artificer already use, and just basically clamp it onto the monk, the bugs-based chassis. And then a lot of the stuff that we've already seen in we published this back I think in 2020, and the 2026 Elemental Warrior now has the ability to deal additional damage in its particular element by expending additional mana, and we're able to do the same. For example, a 7th level monk can burn 2 fire key to deal an additional 2d6 fire damage, which can be either fire or lightning damage because it's fire key or red key in Magic the Gathering. If instead I burned 1 earth key and 1 water key, I could deal either cold or thunder damage or 1d6 damage each. So you gave you control over 4 elements. You could divide up the types of damage into those elements, and you could also then use your key. So if I wanted to be an airbender, all of my key would be air. If I wanted to be a firebender, then all of my key would be fire. So when I dump in extra mana to deal more damage, it would be fire or lightning damage, and I would only select from fire or, in Magic the Gathering, red mana. So lightning bolt is a fire, air elements in the 4 elemental system, but it's red mana in the color magic system. Tidal wave, water, so I'd be a blue caster if I wanted to use like air and water, or if I was being a water bender specifically using elements, then I would only use water mana, and it would deal cold damage or whatever. So that was the initial idea behind this, and then from that we had further expanded the ideas of mana management in the martial power system. Let's scroll down here. There's an entire stack of powers that you can spend mana on with this system. What do we have? Like a mana effect you can turn on and activate as a personal aura. You could use lycanthropy as a sustained power, as a first rank, like a first level sustained power. So you basically tap and you keep, you basically lock 1 point of mana to devote to lycanthropy. So while sustaining this power, you can shift form into a lycanthrope creature. Your appearance changes, blah blah blah. This is all the lycanthropy package that you expect, like say from the Blood Hunter. Heightened senses, advantage on strength and saves, natural weapons for damage. So this is like a basic sustained power that you can turn on your character by basically tapping and then leaving that mana tapped for however long you want to have this power sustained. And then we have like strike powers, like a sweeping strike is a second rank, so 5th level is when you get access to this. It costs 2 mana to use it. So a sweeping strike, which would be a melee weapon only, is your weapon deals 1 power die of additional damage per mana channeled, and up to 2 additional creatures you choose within reach of your melee weapon also takes damage. That damage that you gain from, like if you were to use, I guess a monk, if I was using a sickle that does d6 damage on an attack, and I at 5th level put 2 points of mana into that sickle strike, I would do an extra 2d6 damage. And with the sweeping strike, it would not only do 2d6 extra damage to the target that I hit, but it would also do 2d6 damage to 2 more targets that are within reach of my melee weapon. 2 additional creatures you choose within reach of your melee weapon, your weapon attack, also takes this additional damage. So if I use sweeping strike, I have to spend 2 mana, but up to 3 targets that are within melee reach will take that 2d6 extra damage, and my initial target takes the sickle damage, which would be like d6 plus dex or whatever. And so that'd be a 2 mana expenditure for me to use that power. So I can stack up all sorts of, we can basically prepare these different powers to make use of. We can change them whenever we take a long rest, so it has a lot of flexibility to it. The system, if you look in depth into it, though, the whole system's available for anyone that's interested to look at. It's listed here in the Color Mana and Martial Power Playtest document. It's a read-only document for folks right now, but like all my other books that I was showing on the DMsGuild, anytime I publish something, it's 100% free preview. So you'll always be able to have full access and reference this stuff at no cost just to read it. So for now, the playtest content is also available online. Something else that you can do with your prepared powers, instead of purchasing things, instead of preparing things that require you to spend mana, you could choose meta power feats or meta powers, which are basically like cantrip type effects. There's 3 categories: combat masteries, damage types, and feats. So combat masteries are like from the weapon masteries that they introduced in 2024, but these can be prepared so that you don't, if you are skilled in martial powers and have access to weapon masteries, if you're proficient with a weapon, you can automatically use the mastery associated with that weapon, like a heavy crossbow has the push mastery. So if you're proficient, if you're a martial character and you're proficient with a heavy crossbow, you can automatically use the push mastery with the crossbow because it's part of the crossbow. But if you were to prepare push as a mastery, as a prepared mastery, then you can push with any weapon attack that you do, whether it's a heavy crossbow, a dagger, a bare fist. That's important for the monk because the monk can prepare these masteries as well. On top of weapon masteries, there's also damage types. Starting at first level, you can have basic elemental and basic damage types. So a monk, with the system that we have here in this playtesting system, the monk can make bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing attacks with unarmed strikes anytime that you want. And unarmed strikes and natural weapons are always treated as melee weapons, so they can utilize all of the normal feats and spell-like effects and stuff that you'd be able to use with weapons without any distinguishment between unarmed attacks, natural weapon attacks, or equipped weapon attacks. It's all considered the same for the system. So if I were to say prepare fire as a damage type, as a prepared power type, and when I were to hit with if I were to hit with an unarmed attack or hit with a dagger or a crossbow, instead of dealing bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, I could just choose to deal fire damage because I've prepared that damage type as a magical ability for my character. It's a fun way for you to be able to play with energy resistances, energy immunities, energy weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. So by giving characters the ability to prepare any type of damage that they want to deal at will, the DM has the flexibility of changing up what resistances and immunities the creatures that the characters encounter have for increased variety, thematic, environmental narrative stuff like trolls, like lava trolls, would still be able to regenerate, or maybe even regenerate faster while in fire, but fire trolls are now vulnerable to cold damage instead of fire and acid. So you can switch up the themes of monsters, and when your team runs across creatures that have immunities and resistances that they didn't expect, they can just retreat, and when they have the opportunity to prepare new powers, they can just lean into, well, we know we want cold damage against these creatures, so I'm going to prepare cold damage as one of my default damage types. And then the other type of meta power are feats. So at first level, you can prepare origin feats. Notice that skilled isn't among the list, but these different feats are. You only have like 4 prepared powers at first level, so you can fill up completely on feats and not mess around with mana at all. But as you gain levels, fighting styles are also available to martial characters starting at first level. So there are a ton of feats that you can take without worrying about using mana at all. So you can have a highly versatile fighter, monk, rogue, barbarian, even paladins and rangers and artificers can utilize these lists instead of actually preparing spells if you wanted to. And then at second rank, which you get at 5th level, half casting progression, 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, right? So at second rank at 5th level, you can now start preparing general feats. You don't gain any ability score bonuses from preparing feats like this, but they also don't require any prerequisites. So you could just decide to prepare Charger and Crusher and Grappler and let's say Mage Slayer. That's like 4 or 5 feats right there. So at 5th level, as a monk, I could prepare all of these feats and really lean into being like with Grappler and Crusher and Charger, being somebody that runs in, grabs and grapples people and then drags them away to get them beat up on the back line, for instance, like Vikings. So you can really customize the build of your character. And then at 17th level, there's a very limited list of epic boons that you get access to that don't break the game at 17th level by giving you access to these things. Notice it's a very short list, but these are ones that we found to be safe for players to use at 17th level. So you can pick up these epic boons at 17th level and prepare them. So at 19th level, you want to pick one of the more exotic epic boons you can. Or what this allows you to do is for the martial characters, for their 4, 6, 10, 12, 16, 19, the 6 feats that they get over the course of their character, they can spend them on ability score bonuses because they've had the opportunity to prepare all of the feats that they want throughout the course of their character. Hey, Steve, it's good to see you, my man. Yeah, we're playing with the Mystic Subclasses. So right now I'm just basically explaining how the martial power system works in general, so that people can understand how the changes that we're making to the Warrior of the Mystic Art is going to be effective. So basically, we've been kicking through here. We're going to scroll down. We did a full conversion for all the character classes, all the martial classes, and half-casting hybrids, as well as the Warlock. We converted all of them over to the martial power system, so they are now mana-based. Like, all the class features are assuming with this system, every character in the game uses mana. And it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Level 1 spell or a level 1 power is 1 point of mana. A 5th level spell or like 5 ranks of power that you're channeling as a martial character, that's 5 mana. And all the martial characters and half-casters get mana back on a short rest, using the monk progression of 1 mana per level, and then you get that back on a short rest, while the full casters retain the long rest mana pool. And one of the important details about how the system works is, let me jump back here real quick, is action economy. So if you only get 1 mana per level on a short rest, we know that's a choking point because of the monk. The monk demonstrates to us how fragile and how little use we get out of such a small mana pool. So one of the things that this system allows us to do, making martials very different but comparable to full casters, is sacrificing action economy. So we can generate temporary mana by using empowered actions. So by sacrificing attacks during the attack action, sacrificing our bonus action, and sacrificing a reaction, those all generate mana that we can use for anything that we want until the beginning of our next turn. So if I wanted to use a reaction that's going to require, say, 4 mana, and I only have 2 points of mana right now, I could sacrifice my bonus action. Like at 9th level, I could sacrifice my bonus action to generate 2 points of mana. So if I needed to do something that requires 4 mana, and I only have 2 in my mana pool right now, and I don't have a short rest coming up anytime soon, I could sacrifice my bonus action and then sack the 2 points that are in my mana pool and have 4 points available to me until the beginning of my next turn. So this is a way that you can have very little mana in your mana pool, so you can't Nova Burst, but you can sacrifice action economy every round. This only works during combat. While in initiative combat, you can sacrifice your combat action economy to generate mana to do stuff, so that you can constantly be using maneuvers and strike powers and enchanted reactions and sustaining powers to create enchantment effects on yourself. You can do them literally every round if you're willing to sacrifice some of your action economy to generate the mana needed to do that. And that has proven to be the real secret to allowing martial classes to just literally go all day. Out of combat, you use your mana pool. In combat, you can use your mana pool, but you can always just sacrifice action economy. And as your character gets to higher levels, like with more attacks, and your bonus action provides more mana to you, you have the ability to sacrifice more of your action economy to do less during your round, but the things that you do during your round have a bigger impact. So it's a really fun balancing system that's been a real joy to playtest, quite honestly. It's been a lot of fun. But knowing that we can sacrifice our action economy, we remove the problem that this half-casting progression is attempting to resolve. I happen to think that spell points are a more elegant solution in general when balanced correctly. It just happens that I've been playtesting and working with balancing that spell point system for the past 7 some odd years. So I'm pretty happy with where it's sitting at right now. So, using that knowledge, let's go take a look at the monk. So we're going to drop down here in the list to the monk. And hey, what's up? Really enjoy your color mana system. Really well thought. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I would say it is. I am more proud of the mana system than I am of the Spelljammer system and the Bastion system that we've created. But I think the Spelljammer and Bastion system are more useful to the D&D game environment. But Magic the Gathering, converting everything in Magic, everything in D&D into the Magic paradigm has been just an amazing experience, and I absolutely am in love with color mana for D&D characters. It's so freaking fun. So get through the Paladin. We're going to spend today. We're only going to do the Monk today. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning though, and we're going to play around a little bit more with some of the subclasses and the Mystic UA, and we'll be upgrading our Strixhaven athletes from level 6 to level 7 for tomorrow's playtesting. Looks like we have enough players for us to run matches of Strixhaven tomorrow, so Mage Tower. So I'm really excited about that. So just to quickly look at the Monk, level 1 to 20. Again, it has the mana progression. It has the prepared powers. We have 4 at first level, which again include masteries, feats, fighting styles, and any martial powers that you want to pick up at first rank. We still have our Monk speed progression. We start gaining mana right away at first level with 1 mana on a short rest. Our martial arts die, it's a D6, D8, D10, D12, that still stands. All of our progression is basically the same, but we had to make some tweaks to accommodate the differences in how the Monk works. So like martial arts, we allow you to use your strength, dexterity, or wisdom modifier for attacks, damage rolls with Monk weapons. You get that D6 martial arts die. When you hit with an unarmed attack, you can choose to deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage with each unarmed hit. Your unarmed and natural weapon attacks are considered to be weapons worth at least 1 silver piece for use with spells, feats, and features that require prerequisites that for you to use them in combat. So this resolves like Crusher feat and all the other stuff like Steelwind Strike, for example. If you somehow get access to Steelwind Strike and you've multi-classed as a monk, you can use your monk's unarmed attack during Steelwind Strike. You could use Blade Ward or True Strike with your unarmed attacks. So like picking up True Strike as a cantrip, as a mystic, a warrior of the Mystic Arts. That's not a bad idea. So you always have your unarmed you always have the grapple and topple combat masteries prepared. We were talking about that earlier. Grapple is a unique combat mastery that's not associated with any particular weapon, but you can be prepared that when you hit with a melee weapon, you can use that weapon as part of the attack, force them to make a saving throw, and grapple them. If you succeed in the grapple, you can't use the weapon to attack anymore because you're using the weapon to grapple the target. But you get to attack and grapple, so you'd have to pull out a second weapon and start stabbing at the enemy that you grappled. Grapple them with your sword, pull out your dagger, and then start stabbing with the dagger if you want. That sort of idea. And of course, you can use a bonus action to make an attack with a monk weapon, which is unarmed attacks, natural weapons, and any weapon that you're proficient with as a monk. Unarmed defense stays the same. Dexterity and wisdom modifiers plus 10 equals AC as long as you are unarmed and not wearing armor or a shield. Uncanny metabolism. As a 1-minute ritual, you can regain a total number of mana equal to half your monk level, rounded down, minimum of 1. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So it's a minimum of 1 that you get back on a short rest. And when do we get the open? When does this open up more? Hold on. Scrolling down here to higher level. Self-restoration. You can remove... No. It's perfect focus. When you roll initiative and don't use uncanny metabolism, you regain an amount of mana equal to at 15th level, it's you have access to 4th level spells or 4th rank. At 17th level, it's 5. So anytime that you roll initiative, you get 4 and then eventually 5 mana. That sounds like it comes in really late in the game, but again, you can regain all of your mana as a minute-long ritual, but at any given time during combat, you can sacrifice action economy, reactions, bonus actions, and attacks to generate free mana to use during your round. If you're out of mana, you aren't, because you can just sacrifice your bonus action. Sure, you won't be able to do Flurry of Blows, but it generates mana for you to do other things during your round, like during your movement, during a reaction, or during your normal attacks. Or you could sacrifice your attacks to trigger to get free mana so that you can generate a Flurry of Blows So you can sacrifice an attack to generate flurry of blows, so you're reducing the amount of attacks you have overall, but still being able to make use of your monk features. What's up? I like the Mystic class in Beckney. Oh man, that's a deep, cold, that's a far cut, man. Back in the appendix of the. Oh, that's right. It was a psychic that stood. That was like in the Masters. Was that in the Masters series that they finally came out with that, or was that in Companion? It was pretty late to the game, but I remember that vaguely. But I remember it. Mana, you get your mana. There you go. Martial arts, we talked about that already. The focused arts, flurry of blows. This works the same as we expected. You can either do something for free, or you gain mana, or you spend mana to do more things with it. Patient defense, step of the wind. That doesn't change. That's still the same. Deflect attacks is basically the same, except that it works with for you or anybody that's within reach of your melee attack. You can deflect blows that were to attack them as well. So it's and then of course you spend the mana to fire a weapon back if you completely catch the weapon. Subclasses are the same, feats are the same, so falls the same. Extra attack, you now have 2 attacks during your attack action. You can sacrifice both of them for 2 mana, or you can sacrifice 1 each for 1 mana. You can decide on the spot whenever you want to do that. Stunning Strike we changed. Once per turn when you hit with a monk weapon, instead of channeling a strike power, you can expend 1 mana to force the target to make a Constitution saving throw or to be stunned until the start of your next turn. You can use Stunning Strike in combination with any weapon mastery that you know, regardless of whether the target is stunned or not. So if I had the slow mastery, if whether I succeeded or not at stunning my target, their speed is halved until their next turn. So that's what Stunning Strike currently does. If I succeed, I stun you. If I fail, then your movement is cut in half. This does the same thing, but it gets there in a different way. Empowered attacks deals force damage if you want, so you basically get the force damage type for free from the meta power list. Whirlwind attack is a deconstructed whirlwind. It's Steel Wind Strike, but it's deconstructed. So at 17th level, Steel Wind Strike allows you to deal 5d10 damage. 6d10? No, it's 5d10 damage to 6 targets. Up to 30 feet away each. With this, we can expend, at 18th level, we can attack up to 5 targets that are 30 feet away. And if we only want to spend 1 mana, we'll only deal d10 damage to all of the targets. If I wanted to spend 3 mana, I'd deal 3d10 damage to all the targets. So for 1 mana, I can attack, at 18th level, for 1 mana, I can attack 5 targets. So if you're using minion rules, where 1 hit they die, you can clear mobs using Whirlwind attack as a magic action instead of making your normal attacks. So you could Whirlwind attack, teleport to the location of one of those targets for a 2nd point of mana, and then use Flurry of Blows after that to hit them a few times. So it's a really fun combo, and it makes the monk, by spending mana, use more attacks than anyone else can. So that's a fun combo. But that's basically the only things that we really need to point out about the monk to be able to do the Mystic UA conversion. So, but before we do that, I'm actually going to come up here to the fighter, Eldritch Knight, and fetch it. So, when you expend action economy. Okay, there we go. So let's. So we're going to grab the Eldritch Knight. I'm basically just going to copy it because that's basically what Wizards of the Coast did. Is they basically copied the Eldritch Knight and made it a monk. So we're going to do the same because our Eldritch Knight and our Arcane Trickster and now our Mystic Warrior of the Mystic Arts is going to feel very similar, which is great because that's the way that we want it. It's actually a really great class. I really love this class. So let's get down into Monk. These are Forsaken subclasses, which haven't appeared in the which haven't appeared in the player's handbook. But we also have the Unearthed Arcana, stuff that we'll be doing. Forsaken Monk Traditions, Tattooed Monk. This is 2014 subclasses and UA content rebuilt for 5e24 with martial powers. So we're looking at the Warrior of the Mystic Arts. Okay, so features, level 3, spell casting and bonus spells. Instead of gaining bonus, okay, so the way that this system is built, because there's powers that characters can get, like half-casters can get spells, every subclass gets a list of powers. So like the Warrior of the Open Hand gets close quarter combat, grappling strike, at 5th level, extended reach and the mobile feat. At 9th level, a blind sense and the deflection reaction. 13th level, we get regeneration and the restraining hold exploit. At 17th level, we get the moving target reaction and Thicket of Pain as a sustained power. So we get these 10 bonuses. But when you are an off-caster, like the Eldritch Knight, Arcane Trickster, and now the Warrior of the Mystic Arts, instead of gaining a selected list of powers as our bonus powers, we instead get to select magic spells and cantrips as our bonus powers. So we already have a stack. Thank you. Like at first level, we have 4 powers, which includes feats, combat masteries, and damage types. By the time we get to our first subclass option, we have 6 prepared powers. We're still limited to first rank powers because we're half-casters, but we already have 6 powers. So when we get access to the Mystic Arts or spellcasting selection, the bonus powers that we would get instead are you can now cast spells. And instead of going with the third casting of 1, 2, 3, 4 level casting at level 1, 7, 13, and 20, we just make these classes half-casters because all the ranger and the paladin all use the same scaffold as the fighter, barbarian, monk, and rogue in this martial power system. So basically a paladin, ranger, and artificer can choose their normal spell selection, or they can choose any number of powers that they want instead. So if you don't want your ranger to be a spellcaster, you can, instead of taking spells or even martial powers that expend mana, you can instead take your ranger and get 15 feats for your ranger and ignore your mana pool altogether. You could do the same thing for any of the classes, any of these classes. You can ignore mana and not be a spellcaster at all, and instead just prepare a huge list of feats, damage types, and weapon masteries and fighting styles, and you're a martial character with a shitload of preparable options that you can swap out with long rests. But if you want to play both sides, like a ranger or a paladin, can pick feats, weapon masteries, fighting styles, and damage types, as well as their normal list of like paladin spells and the full list of like 120 powers, martial powers that we have in here that also progress at the half casting. So basically, the paladin and the ranger and the artificer expand their spell list from, like, say 50 some odd, I think there's like 60 spells on their list, while the wizard has like 200 spells on the list that you could potentially pick up. The cleric has like 180. I think the druid has like around 170. This adds an extra 120 mana expending like spell-like options that you can spend mana on. So now all of the half-casters has the same breadth of prepared options as does a wizard, cleric, druid, bard, sorcerer, scion, but it's still in that half-casting progression. So to balance the amount of mana that the half-casters have to the full casters, we have that sacrifice your action economy to generate extra mana whenever you want during combat. So if you lean into that, you can actually spend more mana than a wizard could over the course of a long rest, depending on how much combat you have and how much action economy you're willing to sacrifice to generate more mana to do big bada boom. The paladin and the ranger have the ability to generate mana by sacrificing action economy to cast their spells. So if it's an instant spell or a concentration spell, I can generate mana by sacrificing my bonus action, reaction, and any number of attacks during my attack action to generate points of mana. Like a 9th level ranger capable of casting 3rd level spells gets 2 mana when I sacrifice my bonus action. I get 1 point of mana when I sacrifice my reaction, and I get 1 point of mana for each attack during the attack action. So I can sacrifice all of that action economy and generate 5 points of mana that I'll have access to until the beginning of my next turn. but I sacrificed all my action economy, so I can't do anything with it. So as a 9th level ranger, if I wanted to cast a 3rd level spell as a magic action, I could sacrifice my bonus action and my reaction and cast that spell for free. Because I'll generate 3 points of mana from my action economy that I can then use my magic action to cast that spell with 3 mana. So it's a way for half-casters to sling around low-level magic, like high-level casters, like the full casters, do big Nova, big bada booms. I'm going to throw 7 mana into this effect and blow the fuck up out of everybody. But these half-casters and martial characters as at half-caster scale, they can't throw down 7 mana for a big bada boom, but they could throw out for 7 rounds during combat. They could flick out 3 points of mana, 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 and all they're going to do is cast whatever that spell is. So it actually kind of balances out. It roughly balances out with how much mana a full caster can sling on their normal budget, depending on how much combat you have in your game. And if you're using this system, you probably like to have a lot of combat in your game, because this creates a ton of different styles and strategies and action loops for different types of tactics that you can use to synergize with other players, depending on what type of powers and feats and masteries you choose. So it's designed to be used in a high combat exploration campaign that does a lot of initiative combat, a lot of people throwing around mana and tactical combat because you think combat is fun. I think combat is fun. As a DM, I like running combat. As a player, I like winning combats. I think they're super fun, especially when the team is working well together. So this entire document is designed around your characters being able to synergize with each other better. So generating mana, if it's an instant, or like the ranger, if the spell's on the ranger's list, I can sacrifice my action economy during combat to cast that ranger spell if it's instant or concentration. So similarly, having said all that, to basically wrap around to the point of the way that the Eldritch Knight, the Arcane Trickster, and now the Warrior of the Mystic Arts is, instead of gaining bonus powers at 3, 5, 9, 13, 17, you can choose either, and we've always done this, I've been doing this since 2019, is the Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster can choose one of the three flavors. Either Arcane as a wizard, Divine as a cleric, or Primal as a druid. So you can then choose spells and cantrips from that selection of spells. So if you're Eldritch Knight, if you want to play like a forest warden kind of character, you could choose Druid magic. If you want to be a High Templar, you can choose Divine magic. If you want to be an Arcane Gish, you could choose the wizard list, and you'll have access to spells up to 5th level. At 17th level, just like Ranger, Paladin, and Artificer do. You're limited to your selected spell list, and you get to pick 2 spells every time you hit the rank 3, 5, 9, 13, 17. You get access to cantrips right away, or up to now keep in mind, 1st level spells require mana. Cantrips are free. So you can select any cantrip off of those lists. So like if I wanted to make a monk like a sorcerer, like a sorcerer monk, like the Unearthed Arcana recommends, then I would go with Arcane Magic. But we're giving you access to the wizard list, not the sorcerer list. The reason they went with sorcerer is because of the clever idea of it being innate magic, so you don't have to study it. It's just something that you pick up, which may or may not jive with how you look at the monk. But the other portion of it was converting spell slots into mana, into sorcery points, or in the case of the monk, it converts spell points. It converts spell slots into additional key, or your key can be converted into spell slots. With the martial power system and the color mana system, it's all the same. Like a wizard would have 80 mana at 20th level, but a sorcerer has 100 mana at 20th level, because there's no difference between sorcery points and spell slots in a mana system that integrates at a 1-to-1 point ratio. So it's really elegant. So we don't need to have this conversion stuff that's happening here in the Mystic Focus at 6th level. So we have the Mystic Fighting Style, Centered Focus at 11, Improved Mystic Fighting Style at 17. We have the Mystic Focus, which is a non-class feature in the mana system. So this is a dead option. But then we have at 3rd level, we have gaining access to spells, which I'm content with. But it's a little thin because, again, we get to shed this bulky 6th level feature, and that frees up design budget for us to stay more in line with what the actual Eldritch Knight was doing, for instance. So it's what, 3, 6, 11, 17? 3, 6, 11, and then 17. That's basically our tempo. Put this one down for 17, and right now I'm just putting these as placeholders because we know it's very similar. We can cherry pick and we can cherry pick what works and then change and replace what doesn't. So again, looking at how this works, spellcasting bonus spells. Instead of gaining bonus powers with this archetype, choose either Arcane, Divine, or Primal Magic. You can choose cantrips and spells up to the max rank power gained as a monk from the chosen list. So when I hit 5th level as a monk, I get access to 2nd level spells from the spell list of my choice. Whenever I gain a level, I can swap. When you gain a new fighter level, you can swap 1 bonus cantrip or 1 spell for a new one. Whenever I finish a long rest as a monk, I can change 1 power that I know. Spellcasting follows all normal rules for components, maintaining concentration, etc. We're going to change that. This is going to be... let's see. Follows normal rules for components, maintaining concentration, etc. Right, and then spellcasting focus. Your training has taught you to use your own life energy, your own focus, to use your focus as use your key as a spellcasting focus for your Mystic Warrior spells. Maintaining concentration on a spell follows the rules presented in the Color Mana Spell Point Variant rules, which is linked down below. Each rank of power that you sustain reduces. So if I'm a 9th level monk capable of casting 3rd level spells and channeling 3rd rank powers, if I'm sustaining powers instead of maintaining concentration, I can sustain up to 3 mana worth of effects. So like I could have 3 first rank powers, and I can have all those active at the same time. I could have a single 3rd rank power active. I could have a 2nd rank and a 1st rank power active at the same time. These don't require concentration. But if I'm casting a spell that does require concentration, I have to have space for it. So if I'm sustaining a 3rd rank effect already, I can't concentrate on any spells. If I'm concentrating on a 1st level spell, I have 2 ranks of power open, so the total combined needs to be 3, but only spells need to be concentrated on. So as you're designing your Warrior of Mystic Arts, you can decide, do I want to worry about concentration, or do I want to focus only on persistent spells that don't require concentration, or instant spells during combat? The instant and concentration spells, I can generate mana during combat to pay for casting the spells. But persistent spells that don't require concentration cannot use that action economy, so I'll have to be using mana from my mana pool, not generated mana during combat. Instant spells which cause damage, which are usually going to be used in combat, it makes sense that you would pick those up because you can sacrifice your bonus action to generate mana to then cast an instant spell without using any of the focus points in your mana pool. And then, as general rule, since there's no spell slots anymore, and because mana is so generous, we remove the ability to cast spells without a spell slot. Instead, we have so much mana, like full casters have so much mana in their mana pool, they can afford to pay for every spell that they cast. They don't need free spells, but you can give them options that reduce the cost of casting a spell. So since every spell is always going to cost some amount of mana for you to cast it, we don't have the rule that you can only cast one spell during your turn unless it didn't require a spell slot. That's a really neat solution to spell slots, but since we're using mana, we don't need that. So we can remove the restriction altogether. You are not limited to casting one spell with mana per round. For example, you can cast a level 3 spell that uses the magic action and a level 2 spell that uses a bonus action during your turn if you have 5 mana available. And when you expend action economy during combat to generate temporary mana, you can expend that mana to cast one of your bonus spells, which we will prepare up here. At 3rd level, we only have 2 of them. To cast one of your bonus spells with a duration of instant or concentration instead of channeling a power, which is what we've been talking about. It's worth noting all the bonus spells that you can cast in D&D 5e 5.5 are either movement, like teleportation effects, or they're attack triggers. Like I hit you with an attack, and then I expend my bonus action to cast this spell that's going to ramp the damage of that attack, like lightning arrow and volley of was the volley spell that turns your attack into a burst of arrows in a 10-foot area. The paladin smite spells have been converted into when you hit, you then spend your bonus action to cast this spell with your mana to boost the damage that you deal. There's virtually there are literally no spells that are bonus action to cast that aren't teleportation / protection spells, or that ramp the damage that you did when you made an attack. So only the sorcerer is one that could cast a fireball with an action and a bonus action. So what we did instead was we just put the restriction on the sorcerer. Hey, when you quicken a spell that would normally require a magic action to cast, and you cast it as a bonus action instead, if you have your magic action available, you can then only cast a cantrip or do something else. You can't cast another spell with it, because the magic action has been used up using your bonus action instead. So the sorcerer is the only one with that restriction now. Everyone else can use bonus action and magic action to cast stuff. But again, like Misty Step is like the number one bonus act. That and like Spiritual Hammer, which creates a weapon that you now have to use your bonus action to attack with. So it's a non-bow. Like there's virtually no spells that cause a problem with being able to cast them as an action and bonus action if the sorcerer is already retains the same restrictions. So having said that, you've got flexibility in your build. What else do we have going on inside here? Yeah, okay, this is all taken care of. Mystic Focus, we no longer have to worry about Mystic Focus, so that is an open space. Let's look at what the Mystic Fighting Style is. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks with the casting of one of your sorcerer cantrips that you have a casting time of an action. Perfect. War Magic, level 6. Once per round, when you take the attack action, you can forgo one of your attacks to instead cast a Mystic Arts cantrip with a casting time of 1 action. Cast a Mystic Arts cantrip with a casting time of 1 action. So that's solid. War Bond. This space kind of opens up when you are not limited to casting, maintaining concentration, when you expend action economy. Spell Focus there. Your training has taught you to use your key as a spellcasting focus for your Mystic Arts spells. You don't require material components or a component pouch unless you don't require a material components pouch
or any component or components or material components. You don't require material components unless it is consumed or has a gold value indicated in the spell description. So that replaces the need for the war bond. We don't need weapons because we're a monk. We are a weapon. So we don't need war bonds. We can remove that completely. We only get the one feature at 3rd level as listed for the Warrior of the Mystic Arts, and now we honor that, but we resolve the components issue with the spellcasting focus. So material component, you don't require material components. There we go. To cast spells, but you still require verbal. You still require somatic and verbal components as detailed in spell descriptions. Thank you, Timely Timer. So that takes care of 3rd level. So far, so good. We've taken care of 6th level with War Magic. Now we're looking at what? Centered focus. Whenever you expend a focus point to use Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, or Step of the Wind, you have advantage on any saving throw you make to maintain concentration until the start of your next turn. I kind of like that. Whenever you expend a focus point, you have advantage on any saving throw you make to make concentration. Okay. Yeah, we can keep that. Centered focus. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Let's see if there's something we can let's think about that for a second and see if there's anything we can do to glam that up. When you expend mana, you gain advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration until the start of your next turn, period. I want to make it broader because we have so many reaction powers that you can use during when it's not your turn that we want to that we can expend mana on. Like I could use a reaction to teleport away from an enemy that's trying to attack me. I would spend mana and teleport as part of a reaction. And since I just spent mana, I now have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration until the start of my next turn. And I'm going to get rid of because Constitution saving throws, when you take damage, is automatically a Constitution saving throw. But I want to make it better. I want to glam this up a little bit. Let's go back and look at the monk again. When does the monk get its cool saving throw kick? Self-restoration? No, that's not it. Is it Disciplined Survivor? It's Disciplined Survivor at level 14. You gain proficiency in all saving throws. In addition, when you fail a saving throw, you can expend 1 mana to re-roll using the new result instead. That's really good. So what I think I want to do is when you expend mana, you gain advantage on Constitution saving throws. Until the end of your next turn. God, I was thinking about Constitution and Wisdom, but that's too much. I like the flavor of it, but it's too strong. When you expend mana, you gain advantage on one saving throw of your choice until the start of your next turn. There. That makes it very universal. Because you might not need to concentrate on spells. That could be a useless feature. If you choose not to take any concentration spells because you plan on filling up on sustained powers that would block all the channels from maintaining concentration, this becomes a dead feature. What's it called? Centered focus. So when you expend mana, you gain advantage on one saving throw of your choice until the start of your next turn. There you go. So you could get tripped. I'll go ahead and just save on that. That's not a problem. You're going to get hit with a fear spell. Okay, I'm going to make a saving throw. I'm going to gain advantage on that one. That'll blow my advantage pin. I like that. 17th level, improved Mystic Fighting Style. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace 2 of the attacks with a casting of one of your level 1 or 2 sorcerer spells that has a casting time of an action. This is, okay, so I'm not the first person to point this out, but this is a complete non-bow feature because you would normally be able to use a magic action instead of the attack action. There's nothing that we're gaining from this class that makes this attack action more useful. Mystic Fighting Style, when you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks with the casting of one of your sorcerer cantrips. So if I want to use Mystic Fighting Style, improved Mystic Fighting Style overrides that, but it doesn't give me any, like the fighter gets multiple attacks. By 17th level, they have 3 attacks, and then at 20th, they'll have 4. So there's obvious advantage on this. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace 2 of the attacks with the casting of one of your action time. That has a casting time of 1 action. So a fighter absolutely benefits from this. But the monk doesn't. The monk only gets 2 attacks, starting at 5th level and beyond. So that's kind of a non-bow. It's not useful at all. So how can we rebuild this? Improve Mystic Fighting Style. When you Okay, let's do this instead. Hold on. Here's the answer. It's in Whirlwind Attack. This is where the answer is at. As a magic action, you can attack enemies around you that you can see in a blur of motion. The Whirlwind Attack table below shows how many targets you can attack and how far from you each of these targets can be. And it's 5 at 17th level when you can channel up to 5 mana at a time. So let's abuse that. Once per round. Let's see. When you take the magic action to use Whirlwind Attack, you can sacrifice any number of targets to instead cast one of your bonus spells that has a casting time of 1 action with a duration of instant or concentration. When you take the magic action to use Whirlwind Attack, you can sacrifice any number of targets to instead cast one of your bonus spells of a level equal to the number of attacks sacrificed this way that has a casting time of 1 action with a duration of instant concentration.
the mana you spend, the mana you expend to cast the spell is the amount
of D10 damage you deal to the remaining targets of the whirlwind attack. For example, when you use whirlwind attack, if you choose
to sacrifice 4 targets, if you choose to, we should word like this, if you choose to forego attacking 4 targets, you can expend 4 mana
to cast a 4th level spell, and the remaining target, if hit, takes
4d10 damage, as detailed. I don't need to say that. It takes 4d10 damage. You see how that works? At 17th level, you have 5 targets, and you can spend up to 5 mana to deal 5d10 damage to all 5 of those targets. If I choose instead to forego 4 targets and only attack 1 target, if I spend 4 mana, I can cast a 4th level spell and still deal 4d10 damage to that single target. If instead I forego 3 targets and spend 3 mana, I can cast a 3rd level spell and still deal 3d10 damage to the 2 remaining targets if I hit.
You got a 5 on it. So, very flexible. And this does what it wants it to do, but they didn't have a mechanism to do it with this. The fighter has 4 attacks at 20th level, so you can sacrifice some of your attacks during your attack action to instead swap in a spell. The Mystic Arcana, the Whirlwind attack requires you to spend at least 1 point of mana to deal D10 damage to all the targets that are in the area. If I instead wanted to forego one of those targets, I spend that 1 point of mana. I can cast a 1st level spell and still hit 4 targets in the Whirlwind, dealing D10 damage to each of them. 2nd level spell, sacrifice 2 targets, cast my 2nd level spell. The 3 remaining targets takes 2d10 damage each. Sacrifice 3 targets, spend 3 mana, cast a 3rd level spell, and the 2 remaining targets takes 3d10 damage each. Forgo 4 targets, cast a 4th level spell with 4 mana. The remaining target takes 5 points of damage. And if I'm going to sacrifice all 5 targets, I don't have any targets, and I have 5 mana I have to spend anyway. I may as well just use my magic action to cast the 5th level spell, instead of doing this hoopla with the improved war magic. You see how that works? There you go. So the magic action gets in the way of the attack action. So I can't do a cantrip as an attack action, and then use Whirlwind, because Whirlwind requires a magic action, which replaces your attack action. See how that works? This is really fucking cool. I am very satisfied with how that feels. It leans into the features that we created specifically for the martial power system to give the monk that ongoing whirlwind strike effect that they get. It comes in at 5th level. Hold on, let's go back up. That's right, we get 5 targets at 18th level. So at 17th level, when we get this, we'd have 4 targets. Sacrifice 3 of them, 3rd level spell. The last remaining target 25 feet away takes 3d10 damage, and I cast like fireball or whatever. So a lot of flexibility there. They can only be instant or concentration spells because that's how martial mana works, using action economy during combat to create spell effects. So that remains consistent. I will say this is a more accurate in-theme idea with what they're attempting to create, but we have a lot more mechanics that as third-party content creators we can lean into to be able to make these effects more effective. So there you go. So I don't know, man. I don't know which one I would prefer. Druid, Cleric, or Wizard. They're all really compelling options. So it's kind of hard to say which one would be best to go. It just depends on which one you like the most, I guess. So subclass UA, and we're gonna put in parentheses here, Mystic Subclasses UA. I don't remember what the Tattooed Warrior is. One of the UA. It was the was it the Forgotten Realms? I think that was it. All right, so that's it for today. That was one subclass down. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning, and we're going to continue our exploration here. We'll get into the Oath of the Spell Guard, which should be pretty straightforward. It's a paladin, nothing too big there. We'll probably get done with the rogue as well, and then we have Warlock. No, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to hold off. On Saturday, we're going to stick with, I think we're going to stick with our Strixhaven classes. We're going to continue building Strixhaven Mage Tower athletes at 7th level for our Mage Tower playtesting. But I have Monday off on vacation. Just happens that I took the day off. So on Monday, we're going to spend time in the afternoon. After we finish doing artwork stream, I'm going to jump offline for a little bit, but then we're going to come back online and we're going to knock down the Oath of the Spell Guard, the Magic Stealer, what a horrible name, and the Vestige Patron. And we're going to convert these into the color mana system that we want to use. And we'll also spend a little bit of extra time talking about what we didn't talk about here was the Warrior of the Mystic Arts. If we're using the color mana system, we're going to want to pay attention to which colors of mana we decide to color our mana pool to cast the spells that we're picking up as bonus actions. But we'll hold off on that until we look at the Vestige Warlock, because both of those use color mana, and that'll be a good time to talk about that specifically. But for now, that's all I've got. I'll be back tomorrow morning to do more Magic the Gathering mana and martial power game design for 5e. We'll then be playing Strixhaven Mage Tower Combat Sport on my Discord server into the afternoon. And then I'll be back on Monday morning. So if you think this shit's cool, I'm glad that you do. Thank you. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. All the stuff that we've been looking at are, you can look at them. They're read-only documents here on Google Docs. But here's a bunch of books I published on the DMsGuild as well, including the full color mana system for 5e 2014. Starting in March, we'll probably start updating these books for 2025. And once the color mana books are updated, we'll start converting the martial power system back into a PDF and add that to the bundle. So we're going to see a whole bunch of mana stuff and MTG stuff coming out of this out of our studio here during 2026, potentially into 2027. So stick around, ask questions, join my Discord if you're interested in asking, or join in any of the playtesting. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot.